Linda Evans, 59 years old, reminisces her childhood memories. Playing in the park on a bright sunny day, going to picnics on holidays, having one favorite doll, and the preparations of one particular Christmas of 1961, before the arrival of which her mother disappeared, and never came back. How do you think someone would cope up with such a situation? With memories like these, life tends to become difficult. The person suffers deeper losses than are physically visible. You do not even know whether your mother is even alive or is she dead. And if yes, where? Linda found out her mother's truth after 52 years, and she has still not been able to come to terms with it. Lucy Ann Johnson, née Lucy Carvale, was born on October 14 in 1935 in Skagway, Alaska. Lucy loved to travel from one place to another and kept changing places in her younger years. Lucy had traveled almost all of North and had even been to Canada's Yukon Territory and stayed there from 1943 to 1952. Then she met Marvin Johnson. The two got married and settled finally in the Canadian suburbs in Surrey, British Columbia. Lucy had married Marvin Johnson in 1954 in Blaine, Washington, and the two had a very adorable family with 2 children whom they loved more than anything in the world. The daughter was named Linda and the son was named Daniel. Everything seemed to be perfect for the Johnson family. The kids and the mother had a very good bond and enjoyed each moment of their life together. Nobody could have imagined that there could have been problems in the Johnson family. One morning of September turned out to be the worst day for the Johnson family. When everything seemed to be perfect, Lucy suddenly went missing. She left the home without informing anyone, or so it seemed, and never came back. Marvin and the children waited for Lucy to return back home, but in vain. Nobody knew what had exactly happened. The neighbors thought that it was time to file a missing person report, but Marvin didn't. It was on the 14th of May, 1965 that Marvin finally filed a report. But when the police officials did some interrogation in the neighborhood, they came to know that Lucy was missing for 4 years, that is, since 1961. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, filed the complaint of the missing case. And when the investigations began, the neighbors told that they had last seen Lucy at 10,300 block of 145 A Street on the morning of September 1961. Since Marvin had filed a report after 3 years since Lucy went missing, the police had started to suspect Marvin. The case was being treated as a homicide. He was the one who never wanted to discuss Lucy's disappearance. So many questions were raised during the investigation and the answers were yet to be found. Neighbors had told the police that they had seen Marvin dig a septic tank in the yard, that too around the time of Lucy's disappearance. With this clue, the police decided that they would dig up the yard as their next step in the case. In 1965, the whole yard was excavated, but the police had to face disappointment when they found nothing at all. During the investigation, the officials did not know that the particular case of Lucy, which they were handling, was going to be one of the oldest missing person cases, not just for their records but in the world. All these years the people who were most affected were the 2 children. They had no answer as to where their mother was, if she was even alive or was she dead. They had waited for her every day to come back, but in vain. Time waits for none, and it did not wait for Lucy either. Years and years came and went by, but there was no clue of Lucy. Everybody had given up hopes to ever find her, except for one person, her daughter Linda. A lot had happened since Lucy went missing. It seemed like Linda had a really tragic life in her destiny. She lost her brother, Daniel, in a drowning accident when he was only 20 years old, and then her father, Marvin, in the 1990s. After more than 50 years, the Surrey RCMP highlighted Lucy's case in its Missing of the Month series, which they started because of public appeal. The post of Lucy's case was just perchance, since hers had been the oldest missing case now. Lucy's missing case post started running on all media channels and newspapers like The Leader, and all other leading names, since it was quite an intriguing case and the mystery had not been solved even till July of 2013. When her missing mother's story started to make rounds in July of 2013, Linda decided to give the case one more try by herself, and she started her own research, in the hope to get the answers to all the questions that had been haunting her since her childhood. Linda knew that Lucy was born in Alaska and had lived in Alaska and Yukon until 1953. Linda decided to post some advertisements in the newspapers of the northern area, hoping that someone there might know of her mother. Linda's advertisement for her missing mother reads as follows: "I am looking for my relatives. My grandparents' names are Margaret and Andrew Carvale. My mother's name is Lucy Ann Carvale. She was born October 14, 1935 in Skagway." One day, a woman named Rhonda contacted Linda in the context of the advertisement. Rhonda lived in Yukon and was at work in Whitehorse when her brother had contacted her to check Linda's advertisement in the Yukon News. He had seen the advertisement and wanted her to check it as well. As soon as Rhonda saw the advertisement, she was in for a shock. She had no idea why was the ad put up in any newspaper and couldn't understand a thing. She was so worried and confused because the woman about whom the advertisement was her mother. Rhonda quickly called her mother and told her that there was a news post about her, with her photo attached to it, and it said she was missing. The voice from the other side of the phone said, "I'm not missing, I'm here. I was never hiding." Rhonda immediately contacted Linda to clear the confusion and doubts that rose in her mind. And what unfolded next was something that raised even more questions but also gave answers to a lot of questions. Pocket was the spokesperson of RCMP. He told, "We received a phone call from a woman in the Yukon. She called and claimed that she had seen the picture of the missing person in the free newspapers, and said the missing person we were looking for was actually her mother." Linda was not prepared for what she heard. "I was looking forward to it, but, I dunno, it was just strange, knowing all this stuff. I thought she was dead all these years, and then, she's alive. And I thought, what was going through her head as well?" Linda said. Lucy had left Marvin and her children abruptly in 1961, but she was not dead. Lucy had remarried in British Columbia and the family then moved to Yukon in 1980. Lucy had 4 children with her new husband. Rhonda was one of them. Rhonda gave Linda Lucy's number and asked her to contact her and talk to her. It took Linda a lot of courage to call and hear her mother's voice after 52 years. "I am not angry with her. I cried when we spoke for the first time," said Linda. "I called her, Mom. I almost didn't know what to say." Rhonda was more than happy to discover that she had a half-sister and she welcomed Linda to her family with a very warm heart. "I didn't know that my mother was a missing person," she revealed. "I always wanted an older sister. I am just happy Linda knows her mother is alive now. I feel so badly for her, for what she missed." When Linda called Lucy, she knew that she had to ask the one question, for which she had waited all through her life. Why did Lucy even leave? What had prompted her to leave her own children and never even try to look back? "She told me that my dad was really abusive to her, and that he was running around with other women," Evans said. "She said that he told her to get out, and she went back to get us, but my dad said, 'You're not taking the kids,' and that was the end of that. She never tried again after that." The next big step was for Linda to plan a visit to Yukon to her mother's house. She wanted to meet her and see her after 52 years. So much had passed. Linda herself was 59 years old now and Lucy was 77 years old. Linda was more than excited to meet her mother. She told to the Canadian Post, "I don't remember much about my mother. When my father remarried, me and Daniel were not allowed to bring up her name. So all I was left with were 2 little pictures, and 1 bigger one. That is all I knew of my mother." It was finally the day to fly to Yukon for Linda. "As I got older, I thought she must be dead, maybe even murdered," Linda admitted. And her only doubt today was if her mother would be able to recognize her after so many years. Linda flew from Vancouver to Whitehorse to reunite with her mother. Lucy immediately recognized Linda because they had very similar faces. "I went downstairs, my mom grabbed me, gave me a big hug and said, 'I love you,'" Evans said. After meeting her mother after so long, Linda said, "I don't know how to describe it, it was, like, surreal because I could see my face in her face, and her eyes in my eyes," Linda said, before adding in one very big difference between the two, "I wouldn't take off on any of my kids the way she had to." Even though Linda had found her mother, something still seemed wrong. "I just let it go. I didn't want to doubt anything she was telling me, but there was still a bit of doubt in my mind," she said. "I think I believe her, just because of the way she would look at me. She wants me to believe her." The bond between Linda and Lucy has become so strong since they have reunited that Linda has even been making plans about moving from Surrey to Whitehorse. She doesn't really know how long her mother is going to be around since she is already 77 years old. Linda told about her brother's accident to Rhonda, who somehow gathered the courage to convey it to Lucy. "It was almost like my mother already knew about it," Linda says. She has taken everything about this whole process in stride. The story for Linda and Lucy has just started. Every day Lucy asks Rhonda to send emails to Linda, and she does that on her mother's instructions. The emails are just short and cute texts that read things like, "I love you honey. I can't wait to see you again.